I don't come to entertain you. I came to awaken something in you. Because heaven has been speaking and the word is clear. There's something about time that unnerves us. We check clocks, count days, refresh emails, and scroll endlessly, waiting for something to shift. We want answers now, breakthroughs now, clarity now. But God doesn't operate on our sense of urgency. He works on divine timing. Timing that doesn't always make sense to us, but is always anchored in purpose. It's frustrating, isn't it? To be told to trust a plan you can't see on a timeline you didn't choose. But that's where faith becomes more than a concept. It becomes oxygen. What we often forget is that delay isn't denial, it's design. God isn't late. He's never scrambling. He's not in the heavens checking his watch or adjusting his plans based on how stressed we are. In fact, sometimes the very thing we're begging him to change is the thing he's using to change us. He's not just trying to get you to the promise. He's shaping you to be able to carry it when you get there. You see, divine timing is both uncomfortable and holy. It's uncomfortable because it confronts our control issues. We want to manage outcomes, predict results, schedule the miracle. But divine timing doesn't ask for your input, it asks for your trust. God is not transactional, he's transformational. He doesn't just want to bless you, he wants to build you. And that takes time. If you look through Scripture, you'll see that God has a habit of showing up late by human standards, but right on time for his glory. Lazarus was dead for 4 days. The Israelites wandered the wilderness for 40 years. Abraham waited 100 years for a son. Jesus himself waited 30 years to begin his ministry. Why? Because divine timing isn't about comfort, it's about completion. God doesn't rush what he's refining. Sometimes we mistake his silence for absence. We assume that because nothing is moving, nothing is happening. But the truth is, God often does his deepest work in the waiting. He's not just preparing the blessing for you, he's preparing you for the blessing. If he gave it to you too soon, you'd mishandle it, you'd misuse it, you might even lose it. But when it comes in his time, it comes with roots, not just it lasts. And when God says it's all planned for the start of May, that's not just a nice phrase, it's a holy heads up. It's him telling you, I haven't forgotten. I've just been waiting for the right moment, for my moment. Because when divine timing collides with divine purpose, things shift suddenly. What was stagnant starts to flow. What was locked up opens. What looked dead begins to breathe again. There are moments in life when time feels ordinary, just a series of days repeating in cycles. But then there are divine interruptions, appointed seasons, holy pivot points. God doesn't just operate in time, he marks time. And when he says something is planned for the start of May, it means that May is not just another page on the calendar. It's not a mystery you're left to decode. It's a marker, a signal that something is about to shift. God has always used markers throughout Scripture to indicate transition, breakthrough, or divine movement. He used rainbows with Noah, burning bushes with Moses, and even the stars with the wise men. Why? Because God understands that we as humans need reminders. We need signs that help anchor our faith to something real. May is one of those signs. It's not a coincidence. It's not random. It's an appointed season carrying an assigned shift. A marker doesn't just tell you where you are, it tells you what to prepare for. If God says May is marked, it means he has already been moving behind the scenes to align what needs to be aligned. Your prayers, your preparation, your perseverance, they weren't in vain. They've been building towards something. May isn't just a continuation of what was, it's a threshold into what is next. And markers from God don't show up empty. They come with instruction, invitation. When you recognize a divine marker, you have a decision to make. Will you ignore it, assuming it's just hype or coincidence? Or will you posture your heart and ready your faith to move with it? Because God doesn't give us markers to impress us. He gives them to prepare us. If May is marked, then it's time to start thinking differently, praying differently, believing differently. You can't carry an old mindset into a new season and expect fresh results. And that's where many miss it. We often think moments of divine timing will announce themselves with fireworks and clarity, but sometimes they whisper. Sometimes the marker doesn't feel like a thunderclap, it feels like a nudge, a quiet knowing, a subtle stirring that says, this isn't just any month, pay attention. God doesn't always explain everything ahead of time because he wants to develop your ability to move in step with his Spirit. The marker is not the whole map. It's the starting point. If May is marked, then heaven has already authorized something to begin. That means things that were on pause are about to play. Delays are turning into doors. Silence is giving way to sound. It doesn't mean everything will be easy, but it does mean it's time. And when God says it's time, you don't have to understand everything. You just have to trust that he does. May isn't a mystery you're meant to solve. It's a marker you're meant to respond to. Waiting can feel like the most powerless place to be. It's the in-between space where nothing seems to move, and prayers echo back in silence. You watch others move forward, doors open for them, answers arrive, and you wonder if God overlooked your request, or worse, your name. But what if the waiting isn't a punishment? What if it's preparation? What if the delay is not God holding something back from you? We often assume that when nothing is happening externally, nothing is happening at all. But God does his deepest work in hidden places. Seeds don't sprout in sunlight alone. They break first in the dark. And so do you. You may feel buried, but you're not buried. You're planted. And what God is growing in you during the waiting is bigger than what you ask for. Preparation in the waiting looks like strength being forged in silence. It looks like God stripping away distractions, pride, old habits, and shallow thinking. Because where he's taking you requires more than a surface level faith. You don't build endurance on the mountaintop. You build it in the valley. You don't learn to trust in the spotlight. You learn it in the shadows. The danger is when we rush the process, when we try to escape the waiting room before we've received what it was designed to give us. Because God doesn't just prepare the blessing for you, he prepares you for the blessing. If you arrive too soon, you'll fumble what you were meant to steward. That's why God often makes you sit still when everything in you wants to move. It's not cruelty, it's care. And sometimes the waiting isn't just about you, it's about the alignment of people, places, and purposes around you. God is not just working on your timeline, he's orchestrating a divine intersection where everything converges at just the right moment. That kind of timing requires patience and requires trust. Because trust is built when there's no evidence and you still choose to believe. When you have every reason to quit and you keep showing up anyway. So don't despise the waiting. Don't curse the slowness. Lift your eyes and recognize what's really happening. You're not just waiting, you're being formed. God is growing your character deeper than your platform. Your integrity stronger than your gifting. Your dependence greater than your confidence. He's anchoring you so you won't drift when the waves of blessing come. Because make no mistake, they are coming. And when they do, you'll realize it was never really about the delay. It was about who you became in the process. It was about how you learned to worship without answers, how you chose peace without control, how you discovered purpose in obscurity. The waiting was never empty. It was sacred, holy ground disguised as stillness. And in it, God was preparing you for what he already prepared for you. God has a way of moving that seems slow until suddenly it's not. It's the mystery of his process. Long stretches of silence, seasons where nothing seems to shift, prayers that feel like they bounce back off the ceiling, but then out of nowhere, the breakthrough happens. The door opens, the favor falls, the healing comes, and you're left wondering how everything changed overnight when it felt like nothing was happening for months. That's how God moves, suddenly after slowly. It's easy to get discouraged in the slow. The slow feels like stillness, like delay, like heaven forgot your name. But God is never idle. He's never inactive. Even when it looks like you're standing still, he's been moving all along, just not in ways you can see. He's been building the foundation, putting pieces in place, aligning conversations, refining your heart, and making sure that when the shift comes, it doesn't collapse under the weight of your prayers. The slow is not stagnation, it's strategy. It's the part of the story where the roots go deep so the fruit can last. It's where your motives are checked, your heart is humbled, your trust is tested. Because God isn't just preparing a blessing for you, he's preparing you for the blessing. And he doesn't rush what he wants to last. If he moves too quickly, we won't appreciate the process. If he releases too soon, we might self-destruct with what was meant to elevate us. Then comes the suddenly. The moment when the job you thought you'd never get becomes yours. The call comes, the opportunity opens, the relationship restores, and it feels instant, but it's not. It's just the visible part of a very long, invisible process. God didn't just decide in that moment to bless you, he planned it long before. The suddenly was always coming, it just needed the right conditions. God moves like a river underground, silent, unseen, carving out a path. And then all at once it bursts into the open. What took years of carving looks like it came in a moment. But those who've walked with him know better. They know the tears, the prayers, the waiting, the obedience. They know that every sudden from God is soaked in slow faithfulness. And that's the invitation, to stay faithful in the slow so you're ready for the sudden. Don't despise the days of small beginnings. Don't underestimate what's happening in the quiet, because when God moves, he doesn't have to build momentum. He is momentum. One word from him can change everything. One moment of favor can shift years of waiting. One touch can reverse everything the enemy tried to steal. So don't grow weary in the slow. Don't give up just before the suddenly. What looks delayed is being divinely arranged. What feels forgotten is being precisely timed. God has been moving, working, preparing. And when he moves in a way that leaves no doubt it was him all along. There's a difference between movement and momentum. You can be busy and still be stuck, active but going nowhere. Acceleration in the kingdom doesn't come from striving, it comes from alignment. When your heart, your habits, your words, and your will come into agreement with what God has spoken, things begin to move faster than you thought possible. What took years starts to shift in days. What you were chasing starts finding you. Because in God's system, alignment is the access point for acceleration. Many people are asking God to move, to open doors, to bring breakthrough, but they're out of alignment. They're praying for the blessing while clinging to old mindsets. They're asking for elevation while ignoring the character needed to sustain it. God is not in the business of giving speed without structure. He doesn't just want you to arrive, He wants you to endure once you do. So before He increases the pace, He checks your posture. Aligning means coming into agreement with God's timing, God's truth, and God's ways. It means letting go of your personal agenda, your stubborn timelines, your need to control outcomes, and saying, Lord, your will, not mine. That shift internally is where acceleration begins externally. Because when God sees that you're not just willing to move, but willing to move with Him, He begins to move through you. It's not about being perfect, it's about being positioned. God doesn't accelerate you because you've earned it. He accelerates you because you're ready. Ready to carry the weight of the calling. Ready to steward the influence. Ready to give Him glory without needing the spotlight. And that kind of readiness is born in the secret place through obedience, surrender, and trust. Think of it like a train track. If the train isn't aligned with the rails, it can't move no matter how powerful the engine is. The potential is there, the energy's built up, but without alignment, it goes nowhere. Many people live frustrated in that tension, feeling like they have calling, passion, even confirmation, but no movement. And often the issue isn't lack of power, it's misalignment. Misalignment in priorities, in relationships, in belief systems, in daily discipline. But the moment things line up, the moment your steps begin to reflect your prayers, your attitude reflects your gratitude, and your pace reflects His grace, momentum kicks in, not because you forced it, but because heaven is now behind it. And what felt hard starts to flow. What felt delayed starts to unfold. Acceleration is not the absence of resistance. It's the presence of divine force pushing you beyond what you could ever do on your own. That's why God cares more about your alignment than your ambition. Because once you're aligned, He can take you further, faster, and with less friction. It doesn't mean you skip process, but it does mean you stop living stuck. God can do in 1 month what you've been trying to do in 1 year. But only when what's happening in you. Faith isn't just a belief system, it's a bridge. It's not passive. It's not a vague hope or wishful thinking. Faith is spiritual infrastructure. It's the access point through which everything in the kingdom flows. Healing, provision, breakthrough, restoration. None of these move without faith. God responds to faith, not feelings. He honors trust, not talent. Without faith, it is impossible to please Him, because faith is the door that says, God, I believe you even when I don't see. So many people are waiting on God to move, but God is waiting on them to believe. Faith doesn't require proof. It is the proof. It is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith sees it before it's visible, grabs it before it's tangible, and walks like it's already happened. That kind of faith moves heaven. It makes room for miracles. It shifts atmospheres and shakes foundation. Why? Because faith carries the DNA of heaven into the earth. But faith isn't just believing that God can, it's living like He will. That means taking steps, making moves, shifting your posture, and preparing your life for the very thing you're praying for. Faith without works is dead, because true faith doesn't stay still. It acts. It doesn't wait to see the whole picture before taking the first step. It trusts the voice even when the path looks unfamiliar. And that's where access begins. Not in comfort, but in confidence. There will be moments when everything around you contradicts what God promised: the bank account, the diagnosis, the silence, the delay. It all screams that nothing's changing. But faith speaks louder. Faith says, I still believe, not because of what I see, but because of who I know. That kind of faith pulls future realities into present moments. It partners with the supernatural. It tells fear to sit down and hope to rise up. God has already prepared the blessing. The table is set. The door is unlocked. The miracle is in motion. But He's not looking for spectators. He's looking for believers. People who will reach out in faith and say, God, I receive what you've already released. Faith doesn't beg. It agrees. It aligns. It activates. And here's what's powerful. You don't need a mountain of faith. Jesus said all it takes is a mustard seed, a small, stubborn yes, a whisper of trust in the middle of chaos. That's enough to move the immovable, shift the unshakable, and unlock what's been held up. You don't need all the answers. You just need the access. And faith is the key. It opens what logic can't. It reaches what striving won't. It connects heaven to earth and turns delay into delivery. So whatever you're facing, however long it's been, don't lose faith. That's not just where the story begins. It's where the miracle gets in. Faith is the access point, and it's open now. So here we are, standing at the edge of a moment marked by heaven. This isn't hype. This isn't coincidence. This is alignment meeting timing, faith meeting fulfillment. God said it's all planned for the start of May, not just to give you a date, but to anchor your expectation. Everything up until now, the waiting, the pruning, the quiet stretching of your faith has been intentional. May is not just a month. It's a manifestation, a divine appointment set before time began. And when God moves, He moves suddenly after slowly. But make no mistake, the slow seasons weren't wasted. They were holy ground, rich with preparation. He was forming you not just for the promise, but for the pace. Because when alignment hits, acceleration follows. And the only way to step into it is by faith, not by sight, not by certainty, but by full surrender to a God who never miscalculates. This is the call now. Get ready. Align your heart. Posture your life. Lean in with expectation. Because when heaven marks a moment, it doesn't come empty. It comes with movement. May is not the end of something. It's the beginning of everything He's been setting in motion. It's not a mystery to fear, but a marker to follow. And if God said it's planned, then it's already in motion. Walk into it like you believe it, because faith is not just the access point, it's the green light.